We're talking about treatments for bone loss or osteoporosis. So that's what we're going to focus on today, right? Are those treatments?
Okay.
Osteoporosis is something that you can just have, or is it something that runs in your family? You get it genetically.
Both.
It's both.
Both. Yeah.
But it's something you typically, it's developed. In other words, it's developed from, because I mean, they've even found it in like the astronauts they put out in space. They don't have any weight bearing and they start losing bone mass.
Gotcha.
Same thing happens here, on Earth, when people don't do exercise, don't pick up weights, things like that, like our ancestors did. Then, they start losing bone.
But it also could be impacted by the things that we're putting into our bodies.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. And it can definitely, a lot of times, what you see with osteoporosis or osteopenia, we should say, you really want to start doing something even before osteoporosis. If you start getting osteopenia, which is the early stage of bone loss, you want to start doing something then. You don't want to wait until it's osteoporosis. Right. Because then, of course, prevention. We always talk about prevention. It's easier to prevent than it is to actually cure. So with bone loss, it's the same thing. You want to start when you find it. That's why we recommend having the scans early, even 20s, 30s, have a baseline, know where you are, see if you actually start losing a little bit of bone. If you start losing a little bit of bone, you start doing something about it.
Yeah, preventing it is a little less expensive on the front end than trying to cure it on the back end.
Oh,
exactly.
That's traumatic. Yeah.
Exactly.
That part.
And I mean,
the physical.
And you ask, a lot of things go into the factors of who gets bone loss. Okay, there is no doubt that if you are small, you actually the lighter you weigh, man or woman, actually, the more likely you are to get bone loss because your body doesn't have to have as much density to carry you around. And so you have to do other things to compensate for that, like lifting weights and doing things that actually put more weight on your body because that is a big risk factor. Other risk factors are people that do certain medications, steroid use, long-term steroid use, basically acid reducers. They definitely lower bone density because they stop absorption of nutrients. So there's a lot of things they know that you do can make a difference as well. Not getting adequate protein can actually make bone loss because it is very important to have protein in order to build strong bones.
What if you've broken a lot of bones in your lifetime?
That's a sign that you have weaker bones.
Right. And there are some genetic risk factors. Now, we're not really talking about those because those get into, you get some that from birth and they start breaking everything. That's totally different story.
Gotcha.
We're talking about people that get bone loss as they age. And there's no doubt the older you get, the worse you tend to get. And I mean, an 80-year-old is not going to have the bone density of a 20-year-old. It's just kind of the way it works. But you want to do all you can to keep it strong because if you do have a fracture and you do fall and have a fracture, sometimes as you age, it can do you in.
All right, that was our previously on Doctor's Nutrition. So that's been covered. Now, moving forward, advancing that story, what are some of the things that we need to do to help prevent that?
Well, like she said, start off with, and we kind of get this one to everybody. Start with protein. Make sure you get an adequate amount of protein so you can do the repair work you need to do for your body. The next thing is some weight-bearing exercises. And that seems to be the real big thing for rebuilding bone or stretching. Because what we have to do, we have to stress it. The bone actually responds to stress. If you pick up a weight and hold it, your body's having to hold that weight up, and it starts responding by making stronger bones over time. One of the easiest exercises you can do is something I like because it's called a farmer's walk. Pick up something in each hand and walk. You can be 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds. If you get really big, get you something really big. But, basically start off with something small, even a gallon of water. For God's sakes, just pick up a gallon in each hand or half a gallon in each hand. Get you 2 empty jugs, fill it half full of water. You get about 4 or 5 pounds. Just start walking because that's a lot of stuff that our ancestors did. They picked up feed for the chickens and feed for the pigs and cows and so on, and they carried it. That put stress on the bones. That made denser bones.
The body is very smart. If it doesn't think it needs the density, it won't lay it down. Right. So that's kind of, your bones are always remodeling. They're always breaking down, building up, breaking down, building up. But if it doesn't think that it needs to be built up, it doesn't. And another thing you have to make sure you have is all the nutrients needed to build bone.
That's the key.
Now, we check vitamin D on all of our lab work panels. Very important. We see such a huge deficiency in vitamin D. You wouldn't think so in a sunny area, and you wouldn't think, but we're amazed. I'm still amazed every day that people don't do something as simple as take vitamin D. So we actually do see huge deficiencies in vitamin D. You cannot build strong bones without it. Now, calcium is one of those things that's one of the old thing of taking all this calcium is what you need. I don't believe that is true. I think you need adequate calcium. I don't think you need an abundance of calcium.
Well, there's quite a bit of research out there showing that if you just take a huge amounts of calcium and you don't have all the other nutrients like vitamin D, et cetera, to actually make it work, I think there's several studies. One showed like 27% increase in cardiovascular problems because calcium is just laying around, getting in places it shouldn't, clogging up things, making a mess.
Which is why you never want to take calcium without taking adequate vitamin D and adequate K2. So and magnesium. So there's a lot of things needed together, and then if you do have everything you need, then the body can build bone. And that's what we stress to people is you have to have what it takes to build bone. And whether you're 20 or whether you're 80. And we're seeing so many of the younger people are more deficient than ever. I mean, they're the ones we see the most deficiency sometimes in because the diet has gotten worse and worse over the years. And so you're seeing deficiencies at such a young age. Who knows what's going to happen when then people get older?
Or when they have children.
Right. Well, Well, the thing is until when they get older, they're going to have a deficiency for longer years. And so their bones are going to go earlier, which is why we stress to have it checked when you're young.
Before you added your bone density scanner, you were...
Right. I would ask people, because we were looking to see if we wanted to get it or not. And we really wanted it because I thought it was a great idea. I think people need it. And I asked a lot of our regular customers, or, if we had a bone density scanner, would you be interested in doing it? And, many of them, even 50s, 60s, never had a bone density test yet. And was like, that's not really been on my radar. And I'm like, really? I've had multiple people say the same thing, and until you break a bone, a lot of times it's not.
Because nobody's talking about it.
Right, and I was thinking there are so many people we see in this area that have never had a bone density scan, and they're at the age where they should. I mean, I think it should be done even earlier. And of course, insurance don't pay for young people to just have a bone scans. That's one reason it's not done. Everything's based on what insurance will pay for. And insurance starts paying for it in women like 50, 60, depending on the insurance. Or if they've already had a fracture. To me, that's a little bit too late. So that's why I always say, you really have to start early. So that's one reason we got the scanner, because I was like, we have to start letting people know early, because we see so many people after they break a bone have problems.
Well, I mean, you want the bones to be good. Even if you're...
It's what holds you up.
Buying and restoring a house. Like you
want the bone, you're right.
You might have to tear the whole thing down, but if the bones are good, then you're all right.
Yeah.
They use that term a lot.
They do.
As long as the bones are good.
But the people walking around, they might look okay, but are their bones any good?
Right.
That's so funny that we would even cross that barrier, because I've myself have never thought, I haven't broken a bone since school.
Yeah.
And I've been out of... my 30-year reunion is this year, so it's been a while.
But you really shouldn't.
It's probably middle school, junior high time frame.
And men definitely doesn't have as much bone loss as women. I think one reason is their hormones don't always go down. Women after menopause definitely have hormone drops. Men, not necessarily. We see some 80-year-old men with way better testosterone than the 20-year-olds nowadays. So that is something that men don't deal with on that end.
Yeah.
Men tend to lift more. They tend to keep lifting more. Women, I think one of the problems is women age. People say, let me get that for you. Say no, do it yourself. I mean, that's one thing that you do see, because men lift things for women.
Right.
And that does not help them in the long run.
Change the tires.
They do. They do all the heavy stuff.
Decorations out of the attic.
Yeah, exactly.
They do all the heavy stuff. Yeah. So with other people doing the heavy lifting for you, you're not going to have bone strength.
So you're cheating yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So start
at that.
The problem is you're cheating yourself, not somebody else.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah, you're helping somebody else have stronger bones.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, these are words to live by. You were getting a word today on the Doctor's Nutrition Show.
And we keep talking about weight-bearing exercise. Any movement is good.
Yes.
And one of the big things they've shown to also help is pounding, things that hit, just even stomping your foot. If you're not able to go exercise, sit in a chair and stomp your foot on the ground.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, that actually makes a difference.
They actually did. Somebody actually spent
Yeah.
money to do some research on that.
Like punching bags?
Well, that's going to give.
That would too. Anything that goes back at you.
That's also a stress reliever. Like
It
there's
is.
a couple different.
Well, it is, but it's.
But doing
pretty
things that
awesome.
even if you're not able to exercise, because I have a lot of people, even since we've gotten the scanner, and they're in their 80s and they have severe bone loss and they are a little wobbly, so you don't want to have them starting to do, jumping jacks and stuff because you don't think they can do it. So it's like, okay, sit in the chair, stomp your foot as hard as you can. And so things like that, just stressing that bone.
Yeah.
If you're going to clean the house, put a weight vest on.
I was going to say weight vest. Even if you're don't want to carry jugs of water, if you just walk in
Right.
the neighborhood, a weight vest.
A weight vest, and weight vests make a big difference. So you do want to start stressing the bones. Have the big things, stress the bones, have the nutrients that you need to build the bone. And if you are past the point of osteopenia, then there are some other things that need to be done. We do have a supplement that works really well. We have even seen bone growth in 80-year-olds, and it is called Ostenol. It is a bone morphogenic protein. If you look, it's categorized as regenerative medicine.
It is.
Because of the way that it works. And it actually stimulates bone growth. It does work well.
It does work extraordinarily well, and the research on it is extremely good. They use it. They even use some of the morphogenetic proteins like that like in surgeries where they're wanting, like maybe a big surgery where they have to have remodeling of a big bone, and they want it to start working, start growing pretty fast. They'll actually put those directly. Actually, an orthopedic surgeon.
The orthopedic surgeons
He's
do
the one
use
that
them.
came up with. He's the one that discovered it, and I discovered how to use it. Let's put it that way. And he gave the name for it, and since then that was in like '71, and it's just exploded. The research on it's great. It show how it can do it, what it can do. It can stimulate that bone growth and just remodeling of that bone, and it's extremely good stuff.
You don't hear about this stuff.
You don't. And that's one that you don't even see if you Google what to do for bone density. It's not one of the things that comes up because there's not a lot of companies that have that product. I mean, they really don't. And because of that, it's a little expensive, no doubt. We sell a lot of it. We have sold it for years. So it is one that, you take one pill a day. So it's actually not like tons of pills. It's not hard to do. It's not the cheapest. So we do recommend it a lot, though. So we do sell a lot.
Yeah. Especially if somebody's already got the osteoporosis stage where you have lost that much bone. Then you want to be
you got to do a little bit more than the next person.
Right.
And this is a way to do it.
Yeah, it is.
That's one way. Yeah.
We always use, like I said, we use our Osteo Essentials to get all the nutrients that you need. We even might add more vitamin D depending on your lab work. So that makes a difference too. So we always say you want to do weight bearing exercise, or exercise that puts stress on the bones somehow. You got to stress the bones. You want to get the nutrients you need to make bone, and then you want to do Ostenol to stimulate it. Now, if somebody just has a little osteopenia, they don't necessarily have to do the Ostenol. They can. It ain't going to hurt you. They've also shown that it can stimulate stem cells and even anti-aging. So they're actually seeing a lot of stuff from the Ostenol. Yeah. But you at least want to, in the osteopenia stage, do the other things.
And for example, vitamin D, more is not always better.
No, you want to get your perfect amount, which is why you check your levels.
There's a limit.
And then there's another level you always should check if you have bone loss, and that's cortisol. High cortisol, which is your stress hormone, actually depletes bone density.
Also, 12 fractures on the spine and ribs. Will this supplement help with this issue? Not sure what is causing the fractures.
You want to find out.
You obviously have bone loss. You really do. And you really want to get your vitamin D checked and your cortisol checked and the nutrients checked. And yes, Ostenol can help them heal. It is not going to, of course, you've already have all those fractures, but you want to prevent more. But with somebody with that many fractures, I would almost guarantee they have severe osteoporosis.
Oh, yeah. You know it.
That would be what I think. Mm-hmm.
So not a lot of things that you can eat for this.
Oh, yeah. You can have a good diet. There's no doubt.
Well, but nothing that you're going to, you'll need to supplement and things there's not a lot of foods that contain.
Well, D is hard to get in food.
D is hard to get.
Now, there's no doubt. Sunshine in some people, but if you're dark-skinned, you can't produce it. That's one of the problems.
Or if you wear a lot of sunscreen.
Exactly. So either way, you don't produce your D. You always in foods, your fatty fish, they've definitely shown omega-3s to help. Other herbals, actually borage oil is really good for bone density. resveratrol. It is, a lot of people know it as anti-aging, but resveratrol has been shown to actually help bone density. And our K2 that's separate, which we do, you can take extra K2 on top of all your other stuff also, because K2 is very, very deficient in the American diet. Our K2 has resveratrol with it. So it's a really good formula as well that you can add to. And people might say, well, my D, they don't have low D. So we'll use that instead of the D with K2. So we have, everybody's different. That's why we do lab work. We see what you need, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's definitely, the lab work is the good jumping off point.
Yeah.
Right.
You need to find out where you stand so that we can figure out where you need to go. Right. So there's another question here. What are the first? I can't tell what those words are.
I think it's supposed to be calcium citrate.
I think it's calcium citrate.
I think.
And vitamin C, are they good supplements?
Well, I mean,
for
calcium
bone?
citrate is calcium, but again, I think the microcrystalline hydroxyapatite is better. I mean, that's my opinion, that it's better. It is better than calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is the worst form of calcium you can do for bone density. It does not work very well, and that's what a lot of the supplements you see out there is carbonate. Vitamin C is good because it increases collagen production, and collagen is good for bone density. But again, most people take vitamin C that is very unabsorbable, and liposomal vitamin C is the form you want to get it in.
Yeah.
That is surrounded by?
Actually, it's wrapped in
phospholipids,
where you could absorb it so much easier. So instead of being the best vitamin C on the market is 19% absorbable, that's 93% absorbable. So it's just...
That's what you're looking for?
Yeah, exactly.